All right. Good afternoon again, and good evening to all of you that have joined us on today. Again, we're so grateful again for this opportunity to be back with session number 2 of 3. Dealing with COVID and its impact on our community and people in general. And again, we welcome all of you. Hey, just take a minute now to like and share. Certainly want you to do that, like and share. Again, on behalf of New Light Baptist Ministries, where we're hosting this, we are the Saginaw African American pastors. Certainly want you to like and share. Someone needs to tune in because we're going to share some very valuable and I mean very valuable information yet on today. Again, the mission statement for Saginaw African American pastors is that we are a Christian faith-based group dedicated to addressing racial, social, and economic justice at all levels of community with faith, strength, and boldness in order to ensure that racial equity is the existence of all citizens in the city of Saginaw County, or in the county of Saginaw. In essence, what we do is we engage, we advocate, and we collaborate. At the end of the day, our bottom line is that we're committed to following the footsteps of Jesus as we lead, love, grow, and serve together. So, hey, today is a very unique day for us. We are excited in this partnership, and let me make sure I echo partnership because this is a collaboration between the Saginaw African American pastors and Great Lakes Bay Health Centers. Again, we're grateful for Dr. Coughlin and her very capable staff that has made all of this possible. Again, let me say again to Dr. Coughlin and her staff, who has done a tremendous job since the beginning of this virus to offer testing and assistance in any way possible. We were fortunate several months ago now to land a grant, a $50,000 grant that allowed us to do some of the phenomenal work that we're going to talk about here in just a minute. But it's this partnership that exists where we're now able to affect change in our community. My phrase is this: so goes the health of the community, so goes the life of the community. I firmly believe that. But that's a term that you'll hear me say very often relative to education and finance and crime and all of the above. It is so critical. And I say that, I underscore that, it is so critical that we achieve community immunity. So before I talk about that, let me take a minute. Let me say, which one am I at? This one right here? Yeah, let me take a minute to share some dates with you. And I've got some guests with me today. Mr. Chucky Lawrence, or Charles Lawrence, if you will. He's going to be talking to us on our subject today, and that is survivors of COVID. But we also have Jill Armentrout. Is that correct? Jill is from Great Lakes Bay Health Centers. I'm going to have them share just a little bit. Matter of fact, before we dive into the subject, I've got some dates I need you to be aware of as we go forward. So let me share those with you. Number one, October the 23rd. I'm sorry, let me go back. October the 7th, the Saginaw African American pastors will be collaborating with the Workforce Development Institute, putting on a readiness program. In essence, it's an apprenticeship with the building trades. It's going to be going on at Victorious Believers this Thursday. And I don't know the hours. Hopefully, I will get those. I'm sorry, it's from 5 to 7. It's from 5 to 7 at Victorious Believers. Hey, we're looking for anywhere between 50 and 100 individuals that are interested in learning more about building trades. It's free. All it does is cost you time. There will be several building trades employers there. They're ready to take your information. They're ready to get you hired right on the spot. And so our commitment is we want to make sure we have at least 75 individuals there. I need your help to make that happen. So get on the phone. We're going to lift the flyer. You can see it right now on your screen. It's really designed, again, to afford individuals jobs. Now, it doesn't matter what your background is. If you want a job right now, you can find one. This is one great way that we're collaborating with other individuals in our community to fulfill one of our goals. That is access to jobs at every level. So that's this Thursday. That's 2 days from now. Okay, so I need you to help out. I need you to share with individuals that this is going on October 23rd at Hoyt Park. That's on I think that's a Saturday, and it's going to be between the hours of 12 and 4. Is that correct, Jill? Okay, between the hours of 12 and 4, we're going to be in the park, and we're entitling this A Shot in the Park. What do we mean? We will be offering shots. I think it is Pfizer and Moderna. And I think for Pfizer, it's 12 and above. It's 12 and above. And then for Moderna, it's 18 and above. Hey, it's one thing that we're saying to you, you certainly need to be a part of. Let me tell you why. Again, we're trying to reach community immunity. And on that day, it's not by accident that we're in the park. Zubu is going on every weekend. That's one of the weekends. We're right there in the park so that as part of those that have not been vaccinated and ultimately come, we're going to be giving out passes to go into the park, passes of 4 for a family and then some. We have gift cards, again, that you can use. Again, Myers, Walmart, I think those are some of the ones that we know we have. We've got coloring books that we're going to be giving out that day. We have PPE equipment for those of you that need some of that type of stuff there. We've got a bunch of stuff we're going to be giving out. I think News 5 is possibly going to be there, potentially. We're going to have a remote from KISS 107. And so it's going to be a great day. I think we're giving out T-shirts, so we will have those available. And there are some other things. You don't want to miss it. We want you to come. Share it with your family, friends, and loved ones. You will get tickets to go, after you get your shot, go right into the zoo and enjoy Zubu. But you don't want to miss the gift cards and all the other things. That's critical. October 23rd, we're going to be making 3 sites available so that you can get the shots. 3 sites available. One is it 3?
Yeah, the 30th.
Okay, the 30th. I'm sorry, October the 30th. October the 30th from 2 to 5. And the 3 sites are Mount Calvary, which is 3610 Russell Street, Mount Zion Baptist Church, which is 12741 East Road in Burt, Michigan, and then the Nations Church, which is 608 South 20th Street. All of these will be going on at the same time between the hours of 2 and 5. And again, you'll get the same shot, the Pfizer shot and the Moderna shot. And those of you that come, again, will be offering gift cards, again, coloring books, PPE equipment. And I think we have some grand prize type things going on as well. We need you to tell your family that you can access any of these. You don't have to. We'd love you to register if you can, and we'll give you information on that. But we need you to make sure you show up so that you can get the shot. Remember, our goal is community immunity. So we want you to be there. It is necessary for our community. If we're going to become healthy, you have to show up. All right? Now, we've got today, we're going to talk about survivors of COVID. And we've got a family that's on the way, but Brother Lawrence is here. In addition to Jill Armentrout, she's here with us as well. She's had some experience working with Great Lakes Bay Health Center. So we're going to have some dialogue from both of them today in terms of sharing information. Why is it critical to share information about this? There is still a lot of misinformation at the end of the day. There's a lot of misinformation about COVID. A lot of people actually believe across the country. And let me kind of give you some numbers. There are roughly 75 million people across the country who are eligible to get the shot, and they have not gotten it yet. Now, I need to go back and remind you that on last week, we had right here Dr. Brenda Coughlin, Dr. Craig Weeks, and they were dispelling the myths. We had 20 or 30 questions last week about can I get the vaccine? It's going to change my DNA. And those 2 experts were able, through scientific data, to share with us that none of that is true. Well, today we're going to hear from victims of or individuals who have contracted COVID and they have rebounded. They got a story to tell. And so I want to start out again. Let me just take a minute and have them introduce themselves. Jill, let's start with you because you're our partner in helping us to facilitate this. You could talk a little bit more about some of the things I've talked about. And you can also share some of the information that we're going to have. And then we're going to have Mr. Lawrence is going to talk with us a little bit more about his experience. I've got a host of questions. And so before Mr. Lawrence jumps into a story, I'm going to ask some questions of him, but I also want him to feel free to share as well. So Jill, come on, let's just welcome Jill. Jill's going to tell us a little bit about what she does. She's our partner, and she has some information she wants to share. And then we're going to go right to Mr. Lawrence, and we're going to start having some great dialogue about him and his survival with COVID.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for that introduction, and I'm really pleased to be here. I'm not a clinical staff person with Great Lakes Bay Health Centers, but I do work with donors and grants, and I get to do a lot of community outreach, and it's really exciting to be here and be part of, work with these churches that are part of Saginaw African American Pastors Organization, as well as our Hispanic leaders in the community. We know that to help people feel comfortable and to trust healthcare and the vaccine, we got to partner with our community partners. You know, that's what this is about. Yeah, there's going to be fun things going on at these events, and there's some incentives to help you come out. So, you know, but if this is going to be a church in your community, and we're hoping get the vaccines into those places where people feel comfortable. They can come out on a nice fall day, and if you haven't gotten it yet, we'd love to have you come out and get your vaccine that day, because it's really important. And you're going to hear today from people and their testimony about what happened to them and what they experienced and the risks that's involved with COVID and getting sick with that. I was just going to say that Great Lakes Bay Health Centers has been doing testing since the early days of the pandemic at some of our sites, and we're still doing that. So right now we do have weekdays, we do have availability, and you can come out to our site and get a test for COVID, or you can get the vaccine as well. So there's some convenience in that, and we don't want you to forget that option. But like I said, these partnerships on the weekend, sometimes that works better. Whatever barriers are keeping you from getting it, we're going to try to remove those barriers. But just for convenience, and where we're located is right downtown, 501 Lapeer. Right now, that's a drive-through vaccine and COVID testing site from 8 to 1 every day during the weekdays. So you don't need an appointment, and we do have the Moderna available there too. So again, yeah, we're really working with a lot of partners to continue to get the information out because we want to dispel those myths, and we want you to understand the importance of it for your health. Great Lakes Bay Health Centers has centers all over this region. We take care of anyone who's needing medical, dental, or behavioral health care services, and we have more than 30 locations. And we take care of you if you have private insurance, Medicaid, Medicare, or no insurance. So that's the other part of this. If you haven't gotten your checkups, your other childhood immunizations, if you haven't gotten your teeth cleaned and those things, and you need a doctor and you need to come see us, we're at greatlakesbayhealthcenters.org for new patients. We're always taking new patients. If we have patients that are out there, they need to come back in. Our sites are safe and clean, and high quality care is available to you. So we welcome you back to care. We want to make sure that all aspects of your health are being covered, and that's really important too. So I will be here for a minute for continue any other questions. Thank you.
Excellent. And so again, thank you, Jill, for kind of giving us a brief idea of the services. And I have to tell you that Great Lakes Bay Health Centers is second to none. What I love about what you offer is that it's offered to anyone. You don't have to have a certain income. Matter of fact, it's really designed on a sliding scale, I believe, in terms of some of the services that you offer. And I think that's critical. Is that That correct?
Yeah, I was going to say for sure, we can help you get insurance if you qualify for Medicaid or another insurance, but if you don't qualify, then based on income, we do have a sliding fee scale. So absolutely, but we do not turn anyone away.
Excellent. So I want to take some time now, which is the reason why we're here, again, talking about survivors of COVID-19. And one of our guests is here, Mr. Charles Lawrence, or Chucky Lawrence, as some of you know him. And I want him just to kind of tell you a little bit about himself, who he is, and kind of what you do. And then I just want to kind of ask some questions. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll just kind of start asking some questions.
Okay, my name is Charles Lawrence, born and raised here in Saginaw. I am a certified semi-truck driver, and I just do what I can to be positive in our community now, and any information that I can give that can promote a better outcome when it comes to this or anything that's plaguing our community, I'm definitely involved and on board.
Excellent. So tell us, Charles, or Chucky, if I could just use your first name, tell us your experience. In other words, how did you discover that you ultimately contracted COVID? What were your signs?
Actually, I didn't have any signs at first, Pastor Tatum. I was actually feeling pretty good. And then I sat down for a meal. Just to clarify, I was in California at the time that I became sick. And I sat down to have a meal, and an overwhelming feeling of discomfort came over me. I took a shower, and I felt worse. I went downstairs to retrieve, medicines, thinking that I'm only going to be fighting off the, my regular cold symptoms and that type of thing. But after resting for a little while, I began to feel even worse. But there was really no clear onset or clear signs of onset. So we stayed and we got on the plane. But when I got back to Detroit and we deboarded the plane, I didn't have the ability to walk through the airport. Got back, went to St. Mary's ambulatory. And the doctor told me then, he said, well, you won't be able to go home. You're in pretty bad shape, and we're going to have an ambulance come for you. Upon arrival to the hospital, I was quickly made aware of the fact that I was Saginaw's first recorded Delta variant carrier.
Wow.
That my condition was grave, and that I would have to be willing to give what they call a dying declaration, that the doctors and the staff had my permission to do whatever it took to administer the type of help to save my life. And that was when I knew my circumstances were really bad.
Now let me pause, because again, what you're saying is, this is massive, because what you're sitting here saying is you were the first recorded person that contracted the Delta variant,
yes,
not
sir.
COVID itself, but the Delta variant,
yes, sir.
Correct? I think that's huge. And then to hear you say, because we had already heard that information, that the Delta variant was just as potent, if not worse, than COVID-19.
Yes, sir.
And so just hearing some of your signs and hearing how it just overtook you just like that is phenomenal. And I think people need to understand, one of the things that I heard you say very clearly is sometimes there may not be signs. In your instance, there were none. It just hit you just like a ton of bricks.
Yes.
And then to hear you say you were on a plane coming back this way, but by the time you got back here, you physically could not walk. Were there other things that were going on with you at that point? You want to elaborate a little bit on that?
Extreme fatigue. I felt very lethargic. I didn't have any pains. I didn't have chills. A lot of the different things that other people feel, because it does affect different people in different ways.
Correct.
The thing that I felt the most was the extreme fatigue, and literally my body felt faintish. Just like I said before, the experience of walking through the airport was almost a chore. I stopped probably 3 times from boarding the plane to actually getting in my vehicle, just to recoup enough strength to get to the car.
Now, how long ago was this for you?
This was the morning of the 29th of July.
Okay.
And after arriving at the hospital, I was in an intensive care unit for 5 days, 10 days, pardon me, in a recovery room, and then doing the things through prayer and a lot of good friends to help me get to the point that I'm at now. I'm still on oxygen.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I was going to say, I see in the oxygen machine, and that's one of the effects of the Delta variant.
Yes,
Okay.
the Delta variant has a reputation for doing a lot more of potential long-term damage to your lungs. I was blessed to be seen by the doctors who feel that, you know, my type of health and determination will cause me not to be a long-term carrier, but it hasn't been an easy fight at all.
You know, you say some very powerful things. I don't want people to miss what you're saying. One, I mean, you're talking about the impact of Delta. You know, what helped you, by God's grace, you said you were in fairly decent shape. I mean, you're a truck driver,
Yes,
and
sir.
so you're in very good shape. Can you pinpoint if anywhere you may have contracted it from? Is there any place, anything that you can think of at this point, or you're just not familiar with that?
No, honestly, to be honest, it's very hard to determine.
Okay.
But because of my condition and the way they assessed my breathing and my blood oxygen deprivation, they felt it was 9 times out of 10. I made the mistake of being laxed, if you will, while I was out in California, where the Delta variant was actually running pretty rampant. But I didn't know that at the time. And so when I was out there, we're out there for vacation, and we're enjoying ourselves. And there were times that I do reflect back now and realize I was laxed. I did take my mask off
Gotcha.
at times when I was in settings where there were many other people that weren't wearing their mask at that time.
Can I ask you a question? And I want to go back to something that you said, because again, I don't want people to miss this testimony because it's too powerful. When you were admitted, you said a couple of things, and I think people need to underscore this, or they need to hear it again. One of the things that you said was that when you went in, the doctors told you to be prepared to make a death declaration.
Yes.
Can you talk
Yes.
more about that, and talk about how you felt when they said that to you?
Well, I'm going to tell you, all the toughness goes out the window. Because I literally, when I looked her in her eye, I couldn't help but I felt the tears come down my face, because I've never been asked that type of a question before. So the idea that what I could have done as a choice in getting tested and vaccinated, now I'm forced to accept that I'm submissive now. And when she asked, she said, "You have to tell me that you give me permission to do whatever I have to do to save your life tonight." And I asked, am I in that bad a shape? And she said, "Yes, Mr. Lawrence, you are." And she said, "But if you fight, we'll fight with you." And immediately they began to put the IVs, start the drips, give me all these medications. I think I was doing every 4 hours a shot in the stomach to keep myself from blood clots and that type of thing. And it's tremendous, because I try to tell everybody that what you go through when in a situation of submissiveness is probably going to be a lot less than what you will suffer when you make the choice just to get the vaccination.
You know, it is so critical. It's so critical for people to understand that everything you're saying, and I hear you saying it very clear, and I want to make sure people understand that at some point in time, what Brother Charles is really saying is, if he had his choice right now, and he's saying this to you, that if he had a choice, he'd rather for you to get vaccinated rather than to go through what he talked about. I can't underscore that enough. Now, he didn't intentionally try for that to happen. It happened, and I think it's critical for you to understand that given his experience, the shots in the stomach to keep from blood clots, the IVs being changed, and all of the above. I mean, for me, and I have to be very honest, and I hear Brother Charles, and I have to, again, commend him for his fighting spirit. He made a statement, I don't want you to miss this. You right now have to fight for your life. Everything you do right now, it hinges on you fighting for your life. He had to go into fight mode. He was in a situation where, from a health perspective, there was a good chance he could have died. And he decided he was going to fight. You heard everything that he said. I'm saying that not to scare anybody, because I want you to understand, I've heard this over the last week, that most people have gotten a vaccination because they were scared. We're not trying to scare you. We're trying to make sure you understand, number one, this is real. We're trying to make sure you understand that here are the alternatives. Now, in Brother Charles' situation, I don't think you had to have the tube down your throat and some of those things there. Did they have to do that to you or no?
No, I'm sorry. It didn't get to that point. The person that was first involved with my administering my health care, she told me the things that were in my favor was the fact that overall I was a pretty healthy guy, and that I had a lot of determination. I went on high oxygen. I had one IV its purpose was to serve the fact that I was as severely dehydrated as I was. The other served as an opportunity to administer the steroid that was useful in helping to open my lungs back up to speed, to expedite the healing process for my lungs, and then tremendous. I won't kid you. A tremendous amount of medication.
I can imagine.
Tremendous.
So where are you at now? How far along? Do you feel healthier now? Like I said, I know you still have the oxygen machine, but are there any other effects that you're still, and we're talking about back in July. Here we are now in October. Are there any other effects that you're still feeling now as a result of the Delta variant?
In pushing myself to retain a sense of normalcy, I push myself a little bit, and sometimes the fatigue will set in. The reason why I'm sitting here now is because they wanted me to begin to use this as I feel like I need it, so that the body and my lungs don't become dependent on it long term.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I fought it a little bit coming in. I didn't want you guys to notice it. I was a little windy coming in the door. But situations like that, then I will go ahead and use it. And I'm just trying to push myself a little bit further every day.
And I think it's critical so people understand what he's talking about. As he was coming in, literally, he came in, and we're thinking probably 30 steps, and he had to pause for a minute because he was winded. And I'm trying to show you the magnitude that these viruses can have. Now, Dr. Coughlin told us on last week that it's a disease, but after 2 weeks, it has pretty much emptied your system, but you still have the effects of it. And we want to, again, elaborate on it. So we've got another family here with us that's going to share a portion of their story of what they endured. And so, Jill, I'm going to take a minute. Can you just introduce this family for us, and then we're going to have some questions and some statements from them.
Yeah, thank you. I want to thank you so much for coming. I know that, so this is Maria and Isaac Garcia, and they're going to tell you a little bit about really very journey that they've been through, right? And but how they put it as a miracle story. And also, I know that also about their church that they work, that together they run. So they're also based organization and real important to the community. But I know that you tell it very well, and between the two of them, they're going to tell Isaac's story and a lot of your family, right?
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of your
Yes.
family.
A lot of our family.
So, can you share with us your story? Can you tell us how you ultimately, found out that you had the virus? What happened? Were there signs beforehand? Can you walk us through that journey and let us know how you ended up where you are today? Either one of you can speak. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You can tell that story. Because you remember. Yeah, turn it up. Here.
Yep, there you go.
Well, one day we were at home and I just was feeling short-winded. And I told my wife I wasn't feeling too good, and she happened to check my oxygen, and I was low on the oxygen. And my doctor had talked to her and said that have him go to emergency. So I went to the hospital, and they kept me, and right away they put me on the oxygen. And I was in the hospital for a few days, was it? Yeah.
What happened is he was taking his mother to dialysis. And I just always tell the story because everything he's been through, he doesn't remember a lot. But he's taking his mom to dialysis, and then we became with symptoms on Thanksgiving weekend. And so by Wednesday, so this was Thursday, by Wednesday, we had all the symptoms. So we called Barb Kish, which is our doctor. She's a family nurse practitioner here at James Street, and she had me check his pulse, his oxygen level, and it was like at 83. And maybe a couple of days prior to that, she put him on steroid, on antibiotics. Well, we had went to get tested on Monday, so by Wednesday they said we were positive. So when she treated him and he was getting worse, she said, I need you to take him to the emergency room. So we went to the emergency room, but his aunt, his cousin, and 2 sisters were already in the hospital for COVID.
Wow. Wait a minute. Now say that again. I want people to hear you say that again. Would
It
you
was-
say that again, please?
Yes, his aunt, his cousin, which was her son, and his 2 sisters were all in there at the same time for COVID. And he was admitted. 3 days later, his father was admitted.
Wow.
So a week later, his aunt passes away. A week later, her son passes away. And he was admitted on December 3rd, and on the 16th, he developed blood clots, and he went into cardiac arrest. So he went into cardiac arrest twice because they brought him back, and so he died twice. And at that moment, they had nowhere to put him because they were full and they didn't have a ventilator. And in the morning, they told his family that they had to make the decision to unplug the cousin. So the ventilator that they used for the cousin, they finally had a room and a ventilator for him. And then, so that was on the 16th. On the 20th, his father passed away from COVID. So all this was from COVID. And
now
no
let me-
one had the vaccine.
Now, okay, so let me go back and make sure I'm here. So 4 members, is that correct? 4 members of your family,
Of his family, yes.
of his family,
Immediate family.
immediate family passed away, and all of this between the span of Thanksgiving and December 16th
16th, or
of
20th,
last,
yes.
okay, of last year.
Of last year.
That's phenomenal.
Yes.
And so clearly, and again, I hope people understand this. This thing is still nothing today. It's nothing to fool with. It's nothing to play with. I have to tell you that this testimony is just it's beyond words. I applaud you for sharing what you've experienced, and even as we're talking now, you've lost 4 immediate members of your family due to COVID. And so what's been the journey? And I know you as his wife has been kind of the caregiver. You've already indicated that even some of the impacts of it, he's still feeling. I mean, I can see that he's
he
got
is.
oxygen.
Yes, 24/7.
Okay.
And so he developed the blood clots, and for some reason they didn't change the phone number the night when he was admitted. So I tried to get a hold of him. The last thing I said to him at night, I said, honey, remember, you can do all things through Christ Jesus who strengthens you. So in the morning I call and I get no answer, no answer. So finally by noon I call the nurse and she says, no one contacted you? And I said, no. They said your husband went into cardiac arrest and he's been placed on the ventilator.
Wow.
So they let me go up there to speak to the doctor. The doctor said all his organs has shut down. He has no blood pressure. And we have him on hypothermia patches. And I'm just going to keep it real with you. He's not going to make it. So I didn't receive that report. I mean, there's power in prayer, and we just began to pray and believe. And on Christmas morning, I called the nurse, and she says, we don't know what happened, but overnight he did a miraculous change for the good.
Now, let me say this, because I want to
yes.
go back to something. Can I get you to talk a little bit about when you got that news? And everybody has to remember now, at that time, they weren't allowing anyone to come in. It didn't matter who you were not admitted. And so literally, he had to be there on his own, going through this on his own. So he has some feelings relative to that, but you do. I mean, because I'm sure, I won't try to put them on you, but tell us how you felt knowing that it was there on his own and then hearing that information. And then we want you to share how you felt. I mean, at that point, you can't see your family. I don't know if they shared the same information with you, but share what you can.
Yeah, my husband, once he was placed on the ventilator, he doesn't remember anything because he was so highly sedated, because he was very, very critical. So through that process, I mean, when I received that news, it was just like a feeling of like loss, because like I just like, and you know, I know that this interview is we are encouraging people to take the vaccine because it is so important to not go through this. But in my faith, I just went to pray, and that's what the only thing I could do is in my faith. I believe in God, and I believe that He's still performing miracles, and that's all. I was so lost. One thing that I praise God that I knew where to go. When the doctors are limited and there was nothing else they could do, then I knew that there was someone that would step in and say, okay, I got this. But it wasn't just something that I just said, oh Lord, just heal my husband. No, it was like literally going into spiritual battle. But it was just a sad, empty, a scary feeling, just to know that he's there alone. And we couldn't FaceTime either at that point because he was so critical. So all we could do, and I'm telling you that is such I don't even have a word to describe what I felt, because you can't talk to him, you can't see him. You can only believe what the nurses tell you. And you know, as you're going through that, they're not going to tell you if he's getting better, because they don't want to give you false hope. Because when you're that critical, you could be good right now, and then in an hour, you could do a turn for the worse. And that's why a lot of families will say, but he was just doing good, or she was just doing good. What do you mean? You know, you have to make a decision to disconnect the ventilator. He's not going to make it, or she's not going to make it. So they will not give you any hope in a situation like that, because they don't want to give you that hope, and knowing that no one has ever made it out of there. See, I'll tell you what, when I called the nurse and I said, I want to ask you a question. She said, yeah. I said, has anyone ever made it out of the critical COVID floor at St. Mary's since March of 2020. She said no one has ever made it out.
Wow.
No one. And so it was the feeling that I felt is that I was just lost. You know, without my husband, we've been married for 41 years and we've never been apart for more than 2 weeks. So it was just a lonely feeling of like, I'm gonna lose my husband, you know, and it was scary, but just for a moment, because then I had to step into my faith. And so when the process, when he was on the ventilator, they would put him on his stomach for 16 hours and then on his back for 16 hours. And that was a very, very hard thing for him, even though he was very medicated. Yeah, so I just encourage people to get the vaccine because you don't know. Some people don't get as worse as others, but to go through this, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. And we were like against the vaccine at that point. You know, we're like, no, we're not gonna get the vaccine, and we're believing, it was, you know, back in 2020, we weren't believing, you know, to get the vaccine. And as soon as he was, so he started to get better, and then on January 23rd, he went to select rehabilitation. He was on the trach. So from the ventilator, they took him off the ventilator, and then they put him on the trach, they did a tracheotomy. And from there, he was moved to select rehabilitation. He could stand for 28 seconds because he had to learn how to walk again.
Wow.
He couldn't talk at all. So that's a really scary process. And the reason I always tell his testimony is because he doesn't remember most of it. He only remembers from when he was at rehab.
So the journey, and I'll say to you as I did to Brother Lawrence, so that was back in last year. And
December 3rd, he was admitted.
Okay, so how has the journey been since then? So I mean, I can tell he still has the effects, so go ahead. And let me tell people this so they know. I like your shirt. It says Team Isaac Garcia, and then it says Man of God, all right? And it's very clear. There it is right there. It says Jesus did it. And so everything that's being said is based on your faith. You know, your faith was tried in the fire, and you're yet still here. And so, you know, how do you feel now? How do you feel now?
Well, I feel blessed. And I'm doing better, a lot better. My health is getting, I'm on the oxygen, but I'm getting better. My leaders are going down, and you know, I thank the Lord because He gave me another opportunity. He wasn't done with me, so you know. But my thing is, I have, like he mentioned earlier, I can walk a distance and then I get short-winded, but I still have some effects of it. Like on my right side, I have from my elbow up to my shoulder, and my right lung. It's scar tissue, very bad, and it's numb. So, you know, my legs from here to here and the side, they're numb, both legs. And, but I'm getting around, building strength, you know, and it's, like my wife said, I mean, you experienced it, that it was something that I wouldn't want anybody to go through it, you know. And like she says, I do encourage people to take the vaccine because that's the only thing that will, besides our Lord, you know. But
You know, I think, and it goes beyond saying, when you think about your life experiences, the two of you, first of all, again, we commend your faith, your trust in Jesus Christ. You have been through a storm, and your testimony is so awesome that everybody needs to hear it because it shows your faith, it shows the power of God. And I'm seeing all the comments that people are putting up. What an awesome testimony, but God, but by the grace of God. Those are some of the comments that are coming in from our Facebook listeners across the country, even as it relates to Brother Lawrence. I think at the end of the day, the message that we're trying to send, you're sending, and again, we thank you for being here, both you and Brother Lawrence. The message that we're trying to send at the end of the day is that we want people to take the shot. It can impact you. Just some of the notes from what we're seeing. It can impact you in different ways. Imagine losing not just one member, but 4. And then let me go a step further, because I think Brother Garcia said this, or Sis Garcia said that he didn't have a bed, and that I think the cousin, go ahead, tell me that again.
Yes, so when they told me that when he went into cardiac arrest, they were full, because remember, we took him to St. Mary's because Covenant didn't have no room. So then St. Mary's was full. So he had a regular bed in the COVID floor, but when he went into cardiac arrest, they didn't have any more ventilators. So what they did, because when they called me up there to go and talk to the doctor, they thought I was the wife or the daughter of his cousin, because they had just went there to disconnect, to make the decision to disconnect him. So then as soon as they disconnected him the same day, it's like we crossed each other, like his family and us, we crossed each other, and they said they had already left like maybe 3 hours, so they thought I was them. And so now they have a ventilator for him, and he was in the same room on the same ventilator as his cousin.
I don't know if people just really gathered that, but here we have a situation where a cousin has just passed away, and his ventilator and his room was given to him.
Yes.
Bed also.
His bed also.
Yes.
Literally, I mean, all I can say is, this is God at his finest.
Yes.
And it shows the power of God. And the message that I want to continue to reiterate, real simple, is that this is real time. This is real life. These are people, Brother Lawrence, the Garcia family, that will tell you, and we've heard it echoed by both of them, that we wouldn't wish this on anybody. And so I know we got a couple minutes left. What I want to do is give Brother Lawrence and the Garcia family just a couple last minutes for any last things that they want to say to anyone that's listening today. What would you say, Brother Lawrence, to anyone listening today?
Well, the last thing that I would say would one, do your honest research. We suffered a lot of miscommunication and misinformation when there was going to be a Y2K glitch. A lot of the best rumors start with lies. People more or less don't want to hear the truth, but they'll accept a lie. And I found out, as Ms. Garcia said, I was skeptical of the vaccination at first. Well, in 15 days of laying in that hospital, I didn't care if I was talking to the janitor. I was asking some questions about the vaccination. And in my research, what I've done is I found out that there is no conspiracy theory. There's no sinister plot to do us harm. I tell people this all the time. I'll say this real quickly. You yourself, man, I'm so glad you made it, really, because I'm almost in tears thinking about what you went through, because that could have been me. But in taking all the shots that I took and all the medication that I took, all the blood draws that I took, I tell people that I think it's absolutely irrational for us to think that the doctors will go through all of those extremes to get us to where we are just to give us 2 shots to do something bad to us. I don't think that, I think that we have to start being willing enough to listen rationally, educate ourselves. And then when, just because somebody tells you one thing, don't just take it to heart. If you go to the doctor right now, if anybody's listening, and everybody knows that this is the truth, if you go to the doctor right now because your chest is hurting, when you go to the doctor, he'll assess you, and then he'll say, well, go get a prescription for this, and you should feel better. Nobody really goes to the pharmacy and says, well, first of all, before you give me that medication, give me a breakdown of everything that's
Correct.
in it.
Correct. Correct.
And whatever. No, what you do is you take that medication with the hopes that you're going to feel better. When the doctors asked me that night for the permission to do whatever was needed to save my life, yes, do it, and do it twice, please. And so I tell people that I'm a firm believer, and if you watch how they're administering it and who they're asking to be accepting of the vaccination. And it's our frontline people, it's our doctors, it's our nurses, it's our military. What are we without these people? So if you think about the idea that if there was truly a sinister plot to get rid of these facets of people that are important to our everyday function of life, it makes no sense. So my thing that I would tell people is to do your research, stay healthy. I did something real quick. I did something called Taco Tuesday for testing, and Jill I had the pleasure of having her support me on that. It was just to get people conscious of three things. Wear your mask out of respect. Get tested so you can know what you need to do for yourself.
Correct.
To defend yourself against the virus. And then 3, get the vaccination. We've always been getting vaccinations. So this should not be the one particular vaccination that we all go up in arms about because we've been misinformed. Every day we see commercials on TV, and the side effects, they tell you right there, those side effects make you say, I'm not taking that medicine. But at the same time, it's prescribed medication, but it can have side effects, and I think that everything could.
Great. Brother Garcia, Sis Garcia.
We just agree with everything Brother said. You don't want to go through what we went through. And we had to wait 90 days before he could get the vaccine because they had to check to make sure that he had antibodies. And actually, they wanted to hurry up and do it because the antibodies were already going to like weekends or something. So they said, no, we need to do it immediately. And so yeah, I just encourage everyone. I'm telling you, just everything we've been through, I know that we could have prevented it had we taken the vaccine. You maybe might have symptoms, but nothing, small little symptoms or pain in your arm is nothing compared to what my husband and our family went through. You don't want to lose a loved one. You don't want to go through after the fact and say, man, if only we would have had the vaccine. So I encourage you to just take it. I mean, I just can't, stress that enough because everything, and all my children have the vaccine, and everyone that we encounter, we encourage them to take the vaccine because they know what we went through, and they don't want to go through that. You don't want to go through that, so I just encourage you to take the vaccine. And yeah, because getting the COVID, it's really bad. So, I mean, if you get as bad, and nobody knows how bad you're going to get.
Right.
Some people, I had no symptoms, but yeah, look at what happened to my husband. So, yeah, and I have underlying conditions, but the long haul, like he gets tested for COVID all the time because he has that cough, but that's just, he's going to have to live with that for a very long time. So you don't want to go through that, so get your vaccine.
All right. Brother Garcia, any parting words? Anything you want to say?
Like my wife said, he said, I encourage everybody, and I'd like to thank everyone here for this opportunity to share our story with a lot of people. Followed my story, and it's like we say, it's real and it kills, But the thing is, you gotta be right with yourself and know that the vaccine is what's gonna save you from getting COVID. So like we say, it's to be encouraged to do it.
Excellent. And Jill, I want to just give you, in case you got some concluding remarks, and then we'll be ready to call this a wrap. Go ahead, Jill.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, it's very powerful, and I'm so glad that you're here with us. And I just want to say, too, I mean, honestly, we got some great events coming up, but if you are inspired by these words, and I think you should be, I would say, you can come down to our site, and it's going to be from 8 to 1 at 501 Lapeer in downtown Saginaw. I just want to tell you that you can drive right up, and, you're not going to be charged. You don't have to have a doctor's order. You can get your vaccine tomorrow morning. Okay, so I want to say, it is there for you, and we're going to have these other really special events as well, but we can do it for you, and we want to do that for you, Great Lakes Bay Health Centers, and if you need a test, it's also available there too, but it's very convenient, and you know what, you just take these words to heart. I would encourage it.
Again, I hope that everyone listening today has been moved by the testimony of Brother Lawrence and the Garcia family. It has certainly moved me. I'm truly grateful to have this interaction and to hear these stories. We told you last week that we were going to have some great testimony. I didn't know they were going to be to this magnitude, and I have to just tell you, I'm in awe that we're sitting here with two individuals that literally were at death's door, but God preserved them. God kept them. And they're not quite out of the water yet. That's why we're praying. I need you to agree that we're going to be praying for both of them, the entire family, that God will cover them, keep them, that they will, again, recover 100%, that God will keep them in the process, that, again, they won't be impacted by any of the other variants and things out there as they make, again, a complete recovery. But I want to say to all of you, I hope that all of you will bring somebody back to Saginaw African American Pastors website, its page, Facebook page, and all the other, and say, hey, you need to hear this, because this is going to transform your life. I will certainly be sharing it. I hope that you'll share it. Again, we're thankful again in Saginaw to Great Lakes Bay Health Centers for this partnership, to all of you, all of our pastors that have connected with us. The beauty of Facebook is nothing that we put on, we never take it off. And so you can watch it tomorrow, you can watch it next week, you can watch it next year. It will be there for you. But let's do our part. Community immunity. It's up to us. It's up to you. If you're not vaccinated, take the shot, save your life, and save the lives of others. So again, Brother Lawrence, Garcia family, Ms. Armentrout, again, thank you for being our panelists today. It is our prayer that God will cover, keep you, bless you, that your days will be filled with joy, happiness, and good health. As we conclude today, thank the Saginaw African American pastors. Thank the New Life crew, our gang here, for again giving us this platform to do it. So again, God bless you. We hope to see you again next week. We're planning to bring, again, the focus is going to be on the Hispanic community. So we're looking again, if you know someone from the Hispanic community that wants to come and have this dialogue next week, we're going to be back here again. And so Garcia family, know if you want to come back next week, we certainly want you to do it, to come back to share your testimony. I feel like we could talk to you for another 10 hours and not even get to the very edge of your conversation. There's so much that you can share. But if you want to come back next week to be our guest, we want you to come back next week. That's our goal. We're working with Bobby DeLeon and Monica Reyes to try to bring some Hispanic families to the table, because the focus is to have that conversation solely with the Hispanic community, with them providing or facilitating. So if you want to be a part of that, give us a call. Let us know you want to be a part. We'll see you again next week. It is our prayer that God will bless you. Be blessed.